Hello, everyone. Well, it's been a very busy and wild week here in Washington, D.C., but it's also been a very productive week for House Republicans as we began moving strong conservative legislation out of the House. Actually, the week of legislative achievement began back home in Georgia, where on Monday, June the 10th, I hosted a hearing of the Committee on House Administration. Now, this hearing was to hear from local and national elections experts on election integrity, as well as Georgia's experiences and challenges with safe and secure elections. As the senior member on the committee, I thought it would be important to highlight the successes of Georgia's election accountability bill. That's Senate Bill 202 that passed back in 2021. That's why I strongly advocated to have the final hearing on our federal election integrity bill right here in Georgia. At the hearing, we had a huge turnout of citizens from across Northwest Georgia who share concerns about our elections and wanted to see the federal government take action. Now, while the hearing was held at the former Turner Field on the campus of Georgia State University, we actually began the day in Marietta at the Marietta Diner, where I and my fellow committee members held a press conference to highlight our American Confidence in Elections Act, also known as the ACE Act, which we actually formally introduced right there at the Marietta Diner following our press conference. The ACE Act brings common sense reforms to elections in America, and it will help states to maintain updated voter rolls, ensure only citizens vote, combat the act of ballot harvesting, and it prevents federal and private money from meddling in our elections. Subsequent to the hearing, when we got back to Washington, D.C., we actually passed the ACE Act out of committee, and now it's on its way to the House floor for final passage. We also began moving the National Defense Authorization Act, which is an annual bill that ensures our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and our new Space Force Guardians have the equipment, training, and support they need to protect our nation from foreign threats. Now, when the NDAA came out of committee, there were more than 1,500 amendments filed by members on both sides of the aisle. Work immediately began on these amendments, and by the end of the week, we had worked through the myriad of amendments and passed one of the most conservative and strongest NDAAs that I've seen since I've been in Congress. This NDAA refocuses our military by eliminating woke training and ideology and focuses our military on the mission. Basically, it forces the military to emphasize lethality, not diversity. This NDAA also prevents the Department of Defense from paying for military transportation to get an abortion, provides the largest pay raise for our military in the last 20 years. It increases oversight of Ukrainian funding, and it makes NATO members pay their fair share. Now, many of you may have seen that on July the 4th this year, a new movie was released entitled The Sound of Freedom. This movie is based on a true story of Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard and his fight to rescue children from the horrors of sex trafficking. Now, before the movie was released a few weeks ago, I was honored to host Agent Ballard and actor Jim Caviezel, who portrays Ballard in the movie, right here in Washington, D.C. at our Capitol, where I introduced them to the Speaker and several members of Congress. Just this week, I also had them back in my office where we began discussing how we can raise more awareness of this national tragedy and start rescuing our children. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I encourage you to make time this weekend to go. It was the top-selling movie in pre-sales and is expanding into more theaters this week. The movie is having a huge impact on our culture by exposing this extensive crime network and how our current open border is enabling the cartels to traffic children in and out of the U.S. Please see this movie, and we can work together to end the horrors of sex trafficking in and out of the United States. Now, while it was a very busy and hectic week, I hope we continue to have more like this as long as we keep pushing through good bills and legislation that will ensure our nation is free, safe, and full of opportunity. God bless you, and may God bless America.